Alright everybody, this is a review of Final Cut Pro X from an iMovie user. I've used iMovie for about 900 videos, no exaggeration. I'm closing in on 1,000 here in September. And I wanted to upgrade to Final Cut Pro X because I read a lot of the reviews and it said it's like iMovie Pro. And I have never used Final Cut Pro, so if you're trying to watch a review of somebody who's used Final Cut Pro, I've never used it. I did have a copy of Final Cut Express, but I never used that because it was just too much to try and get going. Very comfortable in iMovie. I make very simple videos. I don't do a lot of over-the-top editing, so it just wasn't natural for me to try and learn it, plus I didn't have time to take a class. So anyway, I downloaded Final Cut Pro X because that's how you buy it through the Mac store, a $300 download, which is very interesting. But got it all set up, opened it up, actually did the latest update to my Mac because there's an update they recommended you do. And it's interesting. It is what everybody's saying. It is iMovie Pro because it's very iMovie-esque with the big kind of bubbly thumbnails, drag and drop, WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. And one really cool thing is text editing. So it's really nice to be able to not be constricted to the thirds of text or in the center. And if you use iMovie, if you press Command-T when you're on a text layer, it'll bring up your font palette. You can use more than just the 9 fonts. You can get rid of the outline. You can do all kinds of stuff that's even better than what they offer. A lot of people don't know that, which is why you see the standard fonts on iMovie movies. But anyway, lots of great options with text. You can animate text, you can move text around, you can scale text, you can crop text, you can do all kinds of stuff with Final Cut Pro X. So big plus there for me. The other thing is tiling. So you might see right now, I'm editing this in Final Cut Pro X. I've added some different tiles of this video of me talking. And it may be out of order, and this one up here in the top left, I may be doing this, and I may be doing the chicken dance. But this is really easy to do in Final Cut Pro X. You just stack clips on top of each other, you tile them, you transform them. It's so easy and simple. But the one thing that really is difficult, and I haven't played around enough yet to figure out if there's a way around it, is the rendering while it's working. Like the mid-work render really slows things down. And that was one thing that was great about iMovie is that if you did something, you could see it in real time. If you put a video clip on top of another one, you'd see it. If you put a cutaway on top of it, you'd see it. A text layer, you'd see it. Final Cut Pro X is rendering in the background constantly, and it's kind of frustrating because you can't see it in real time, and that's what I'm used to as an iMovie user. A lot of Final Cut users aren't used to seeing it in the inspector window, so that's one thing I might try and see if I can get around, because what I'm used to in iMovie when I finish a movie is like a 20-minute export time. Well, in Final Cut Pro X, because you're rendering while you're editing, your editing time now goes much longer. It took me like 2 hours longer to edit a video last night. I was also learning, and then your export time is like a minute. And then I exported a 2 GB movie at like a ridiculous quality in a minute. So that rendering thing, I kind of have to get used to it, and maybe there's some ways around it that'll make it easier. I can render at the end, or I can just do something else. But just a couple of my quick impressions from Final Cut Pro X. I think I'm going to keep using it. I'm not going to go back to iMovie. I'm going to stick with it. I made the purchase, so I'm going to use it for sure. But just a couple quick thoughts, and as I find more stuff, I'll be sure to share it with you. Also, the one thing I have tried to figure out is exporting to YouTube has been weird. I tried to export. It gives you 6 options in Final Cut Pro X, and YouTube didn't like any of those. But when I exported, if I shared directly to YouTube in Final Cut Pro X, it worked. But that kind of scares me, because what if YouTube's down and it doesn't process correctly, and then I don't even have a file to try and re-upload? I have to go through that process again. So one thing to just mess around with, I got to figure out which file types are best. So yeah, that's just a quick review. Obviously a little all over the place because I just started, but wanted to get my thoughts out there if anybody's thinking about upgrading. So I recommend the upgrade from iMovie to Final Cut Pro X. That's the final word there on this little video.